Hi, Somatic Yoga friends. I'm Megan, and this practice is at the request of a student, and it's specific for fibromyalgia. However, know that many of the somatic yoga practices are very comfortable and helpful with fibromyalgia. It's all in how we approach the movements. So I'm going to take just a moment and give you a little bit of my philosophy, having worked with a number of students with fibromyalgia. So take your hand out in front of you and open your hand as far as you can go. Like really stretch the fingers apart and notice how that feels for your joints, for the palm of your hand, even for your skin. Go as far as you can. So we're going to a 10, like create the most sensation you can in that hand. And then back off a little bit at a time till you feel like maybe it's about 50% of that sensation. Where is that for you? So I work on a sensation scale all the time. And when you have fibromyalgia or any sort of chronic pain, you want to work at a sensation below a 5. So instead of going into that full 10, I'm going to look at making all of my movements. So this hand is representative of all the movements we do at about a 5. Let's try one other thing. So make a fist and reach your hand out in front of you, and then really start to squeeze that fist. And notice how you'll feel muscles tighten around the bones, even in your arm, maybe all the way up to your shoulder. So go as hard as you can. Go to that 10. And then again, back off, back off, back off. So you could go to a 5 on the sensation scale. You might even go below a 5. The idea is to make it a gentle joint motion. And most importantly, we try to stay in what's called the parasympathetic system. So the parasympathetic is the relaxation response. If you have fibro, that's your comfortable space. The opposite of that is what we call is the sympathetic. And the sympathetic is when we're throwing what I call the red flags of discomfort or pain. So you don't want that to be happening. So think of that hand as representative of we don't need to go all the way to our end point and create as much sensation as possible. Just go for a 5 or below today. In this practice, you'll also notice I have a blanket on top of my mat. That's really nice to have extra padding. You can even have more blankets. I find that my students used to like having extra padding. And then also have some blankets and extra pillows on the side of you. So we're going to start with our legs extended. And in doing so, if you don't want to sit up on your own, please feel free to slide back to a wall or a window so you feel supported. Take your hands behind you. Let your legs be on something somewhat slippery. And set that intention for yourself, first of all, to be playful, but also to try to stay underneath that 5 on the sensation scale. So let's take a moment to come into our left toes. You can close your eyes if you'd like. Just begin to move your left toes any way you want. So even with moving your toes, keep your ankle still. How much sensation is too much? Can you start to feel the muscles in your shin and your calf when you move your toes? Spreading them apart, squeezing them. So find the movement that feels right for you. And then relax your left toes. Sense your ankle. You can look at it or just visualize it. And make some nice circles with your ankle. Once again, you can do your full to a 10 or 9, but what would it feel like to go a little bit softer and gentler? Smaller movements, slower with more awareness. You can go both directions. And let the ankle relax. We'll be going into our left knee. So see if you get some slippiness. If not, you can have your socks on. But feel your knee, hello left knee, and just begin to slide your heel in towards your buttocks so you're coming into flexion of the knee and slide it out. So when I'm doing this, if I come all the way in and pull my heel towards my buttocks, there's going to be a lot more tightness, a lot more muscular action. So I might consider just sliding a little bit. Nice, easy movement for the left knee joint. So find your happy spot. Just enough sensation without strain. It feels juicy and sweet. No alarm bells going off. Then we're going to come into the hip. And as we do this, we'll kind of put some of these other movements together with the ankle and the knee. So start to rotate your thigh bone outward. And as you do that, you can draw your heel in towards your buttocks. So you're going to let your knee drop open. So if there's way too much pulling or stretching in the inner thigh, maybe don't go so far, just go to here. You can let it drop open. And then the other part of this is return the big toe in and then slide the heel towards your buttocks. So this is our internal rotation of the hip. And externally rotate, external rotation of the hip. Really simple, but you're moving all your joints, your ankle, your knee, and your hip. Maybe choose one to be present in. And just keeping the right amount of sensation for you. Just letting your left leg swim. So I find that with fibromyalgia, yoga can be a very positive thing if it's done right. But I also do know of many cases where it was actually causing reaction, response, if it's too much. The other way you'll know is how you're breathing. Take a few more with this left leg. And then we pause just to feel. If you are sitting up, not using the wall, and your wrists are getting reactive, you can make a fist instead. That's another option, but use the wall. Feel your two legs. Just notice yourself from the toes to the hips. We take the magic moment to sense the two sides. And was the level of movement and sensation that you created, was it appropriate for you? So the other way we know, we kind of explored this first leg physically, feeling muscles, joints, bones, skin. The other thing we're going to look at, and this time we're going to do it with the right leg, is what are we saying to ourselves? So start to move your right toes. Again, this is true with any sort of persistent pain as well. Just begin to wiggle your right toes. And if in doing that you feel safe, you can ask yourself, do I feel safe? Will I regret this tomorrow? What am I saying to myself? This feels good. This is scary. So your nervous system responds to what you say to yourself as we're doing these movements. And that will also help you choose your level of sensation. So the more positive your self-talk, the more sensation you can do. And then relax your toes, sense your right ankle, and just begin to make some circles with the ankle. As you're making the circles, you'll feel the response from the muscles in your calf and your shin. How much response is the right amount of response for you? You can go both directions and be playful. Stay curious. Stay present. Check your breath. Can you still smile? That's one of the ways I know. My face isn't tight. I can still keep that soft smile on my face. And relax your ankle. Let's come into the right knee. So you might, even before we move it, say, oh, my knees are really bad. That's the kind of stuff I want you to consider to remove from your self-talk. Before we start the movement, my knees are healthy and loving and strong, and they carry me where I need to go. Just consider that, and then slide in towards you and slide away. So your brain is always listening to you, even when you're not. You may say things to yourself that you're not consciously aware of, but your brain and your nervous system are. So listen. Listen, if it says it's too much, you can go a little further. It might invite that too. Feeling your right knee. And then let that relax. Then I'm going to have you go into your hips. So you're going to turn your thigh bone out and slide the heel towards you and just let the leg fall open if that feels okay. Slide it back out. We'll go the other way, internally rotate. And then you're going to draw your heel out towards your outer hip. So this is my tight side. So for me, that's about far enough and I get enough sensation, at least to start. We'll see if it opens up more. So going into the external rotation and the internal rotation. So the focus is on what are you saying to yourself? Can there be a curiosity? So our brain remembers, if we did something and we were stretching the inner thigh and it hurt, it's going to try to protect you. So you almost have to sneak in there just a little bit, right? No groin strains. And keep that soft smile on your face. Do one or two more with your right leg. or come down. So this is going to be a full body practice. So we're going to come down onto the ground. Like I said, please have extra padding underneath you. It's really helpful for your bones and your muscles to feel the support. The other thing is, for many people, it's going to be nice to have a little bit of extra pillow underneath your head. So if you want extra padding under your head, what we watch is that we don't put our head too high though. So just enough to have a soft landing pad for the skull. I'm going to set mine aside. Please bend your knees and place your feet on the ground. I'll turn so you can see, and then we're going to widen the feet so that your feet are wider than your hips. Your heels should be just to the outsides of your hips. Let yourself land there for a moment. You've got the support of the ground underneath your spine, your pelvis, your shoulders. Maybe even place your hands on your juicy center. So sometimes before we even start moving, you're aware that there's sensation, right? So in some cases, when I worked with students, if things were very reactive and red flags were going off, we can just visualize the movement without actually making the movement. Let's try going deeper into that internal rotation. So feel the pinky toe side of your left foot. If you want to do this to your breath, as you breathe in, bring the inner left thigh towards the center of the mat and press forward a little bit. So you're going to go into the internal rotation, reach the thigh long, and exhale and come back up. So we inhale, rock inward onto the big toe side, and exhale, come back. My right leg is staying still. One of the nice things is that we really isolate the movements so you can focus on one area. You can notice the level of sensation, not needing to look at the whole body the whole time, but just what is going on now in your left leg and hip. If you want to add a little bit more, and this is where you decide, is your sensation level right? As your leg comes in, press the left shoulder blade into the ground just a little bit, and you might also turn your head towards your left shoulder. So notice when you press the shoulder blade, you're really getting more of an arch. Does that suit you? Exhale, come back, completely release. That's the other way you'll know is we take the movement on the inhale and we release. And when we release, does it truly release, or is there too much left there? Too much going on when you release? So I'm going to give you the opportunity to take it even further, but check to see that you're keeping that sensation level where you want it. So as you inhale now and the leg comes in, you can push the shoulder blade down. You might also slide the left arm overhead, creating more lengthening. But remember, this just like your fist, how much lengthening do you need? Maybe you reach from your elbow and you bend your elbow as opposed to reaching through the arm. So if my arm is lifting off the floor and I'm straining my shoulder, I'm not doing myself any favors. So it could be a slide the arm, right? Exhale, come back. Or just bend the elbow. And play with finding different sensation levels. What if you go really, really soft? Just barely moving. What's that experience versus going further towards your endpoint? What is more pleasurable for you? Learning to move with pleasure. And then the other thing that's nice is we'll take this last one, whether you're choosing to use your arm or not, and just fall in. If you feel like you want some more support for your left leg, you can let your knees fall together so the left leg is resting on the right. You could also take a blanket, a bolster, anything that's available to you, and put that underneath your inner left knee. We're going to take a moment to stop here, though, and just be in this long left side. This is another way to experience sensation levels. So where you're choosing to land and be still, is it a place that you can relax? Can you sense your exhalation? I invite you to do so. And with each exhalation, imagine the left side of the body releasing deeper towards the ground. So you might feel the way that your left rib cage is lifting a little bit. As you breathe out, Let the back of the left ribs fall into the ground. Let them be supported. You might also think of the left inner leg. Breathe in and notice, and breathe out. Let the left inner leg fall into your support of your other leg. Take 5 breaths in stillness. Going fully into that calm space. Look for what's calm in your body. Sometimes we have to look a little harder, but see if you can find where there's either no sensation or pleasurable sensation or just the right amount. And slide your arm down, bring your leg back in. This is an important part too. We'll check once again, take both legs long, and just pause and see what it is that you just created. The magic moment. So when we're done with the movement, is it something that you feel grateful you did for yourself? Or did you overdo it? Just check. How do your 2 legs feel? How do your hips feel? Can you sense a difference in the sides of the body, the ribs, the shoulders? So these stopping and pausing to notice what we've created. I say it's like if we're making soup, we put one ingredient in and then we taste it before we put the next ingredient in. So you're stopping to taste. And then let's try the other side. So bend your knees again, place the feet on the ground. Relax the shoulders, feel the big toe side of the right foot. And when you're ready, you're just going to come onto the big toe side, gently drawing that right thigh bone forward and inward. As you breathe out, come back up. Start with just the leg. So the idea of starting with smaller parts and eventually we'll feel the whole. But if we do just smaller, localized movements, the brain's not so busy looking all over the place. It can just be present in that movement so that you can decide what's right for you. And you can also look at what you're saying to yourself. You can look at how you're moving. Are you moving from the foot, from the thigh? You can move from your hip, where you're initiating the movement from. And if you want to add the shoulders, sense your right shoulder blade. Doing this to the breath, breathe in, draw the right knee and thigh bone forward, press your right shoulder blade into the ground. Breathe out and release. Just the right amount of pressure. So we feel the floor underneath us, and pressing the shoulder blade into it is meeting the resistance of the floor, but you hold that dial volume and you decide what volume do you want? How much pressure into the floor with the shoulder blade? And maybe it's not for you today. There's also that option of sliding the right hand overhead, the whole arm, or maybe you keep the elbow bent and slide from the elbow. So it doesn't have to be a full arm movement, right? It could be just opening your armpit, just kind of airing out your armpit a little bit to create more side body stretch in the right side. The best thing we can do is be curious, stay present, and consider saying kind things to your body. And if it tells you it's too much, it's overloaded, either through physical sensation or what you're saying to yourself, give yourself permission to stop moving and just be still. Otherwise, we'll be still in the position itself. And I like to put something underneath the right knee to support it. You could also just let the right knee fall into the left. Option to take the hand overhead. Even as we're still, there's lots to experience. Feel your back, your right rib cage, your right shoulder blade. You can even breathe into your right lung. Feel the buoyancy, the expansion. And when you breathe out, imagine Just imagine the right rib cage, shoulder blade falling deeper into the ground, releasing and relaxing. Every breath out is an opportunity to release any held tension, to receive the support of the floor. Let your mind wander from the toes to the fingers on the right side. Within that whole right side, you're going to feel different levels of sensation. What's most comfortable? Where do you want to land your awareness? You can create an affirmation for yourself or just give your body a compliment. I often tell spaces in my body that they're beautiful, that I adore them, I love them. It's very different than saying I have a bad back or my back is killing me, right? And we'll come out of that. Take your time, arm and leg. And we'll move that out. We're going to do a little bit of movement for the spine before we turn over. So first, take your legs long once again. Shake them out. Feel free to shake them out. Take that magic moment. Stir your soup. What does it taste like now? Before we go into the next movement, let's take a full body yawn. So feel free to reach through your legs. You can take your arms overhead, maybe even clasping your fingers. Take a big breath in, arch your back. You can hug the muscles to the bones, but just enough. And as you breathe out, let it completely go. Does everything release and relax after? And please bend your knees. We're coming into constructive rest. So now my hips, the center of my hips, my knees, and my toes are in a straight line. And I don't want my feet so far out that my back arches, my low back lifts, but I also don't want them so close to my buttocks that I feel like I'm pushing my low back and my low ribs into the ground. So somewhere in between there. I'll move my hands out of the way, but you could place your hands on your belly if you'd like. See if you can take a belly breath. And as you feel your breath come into your belly, and helps you to relax too, imagine that your belly is like a big balloon. And lift the belly up towards the sky and lift the low back away from the ground. As you breathe out, gently press the low back and low ribs into the ground, or think of drawing your abdomen in just a little bit. So we're going to move from the abdomen and the low back. As you breathe in, belly rises, low back lifts, and you'll notice you're going to roll towards the bottom of your pelvis, towards your tailbone. As you breathe out, you're going to press low ribs and low back down, draw the navel center in, and notice how the bottom of your pelvis lifts a little bit. So find just the right range of motion once again. And if you want to play with doing this differently, instead of moving from your belly and your low back, think of your tailbone all the way at the bottom of the pelvis. Breathe in and push the tailbone slightly downward and forward. Breathe out, lift the tailbone up just a little bit. Give yourself permission to underdo. This is the arch on the inhale and the curl on the exhale. And even the smallest motion, you can place your hands on your pelvis. Notice the way the pelvis is gently rocking. Your face is soft. You can still smile. Your eyes are relaxed underneath your eyelids. This is another one with hands at your sides. Option as you breathe in to push your shoulder blades into the ground. So you're going to create more of an arch, more tightening through your back, more stretching through your front. And on the breath out, you might not only lift your tailbone or press low back, low ribs down, but also lift your shoulders. So a little more squeezing on the front, a little more lengthening on the back. But it's up to you to decide how much is enough, how much is too much. Go back to that sensation scale. So as I'm pressing shoulder blades down on the inhale and lifting on the exhale, there's a natural rolling of the arms. So inhaling, I'm going to roll my arms away from my heart center. Just happens. As I breathe out and lift the shoulder blades, let the tailbone, my arms roll towards the center of my body. So think of your arm bones like rolling pins if you'd like. Roll them away and roll them back. Keep your legs as relaxed. Notice if you're starting to get tension in your legs, take them out, shake them out. I got a little bit going there, so I'm going to take a full body stretch. So you may need to interrupt your practice for yourself. Breathe in, hold it, exhale, let it go. We'll do one more round of the pelvic tilting. If you stopped with me, inhale, arch, tail down. You might press your shoulder blades down. Exhale, curl. So this last round, I'm going to have you take awareness into your head and neck and feel your nose. Think of your nose and your tail as having a string between them. And as you inhale and press your tail down, bring your nose slightly towards your chin if that isn't already happening. As you breathe out, bring your nose back behind you and let your tail follow. So the nose goes back, the chin goes back, and the tail lifts. You could do this without rolling your arms. So it also sometimes just mentally becomes too much to do all this at the same time. So arms could relax and work on getting the pelvis to tilt forward as the head tilts forward, and the head tilts back as the pelvis tilts back. The other way you can feel it is from the sense of the two curves in your spine. You have the curve in your neck and the curve in your low back. So as you breathe in, you're compressing or decreasing the curve in the low back, and you're increasing the curve in the neck. As you breathe out, you're increasing the curve in the low back, you're stretching the low back, decreasing the curve, and the neck is increasing the curve. But just think of pelvis tilting forward, head forward, pelvis tilting back, head back. Take a few more of these. With or without the arms. And then we'll pause again. Take your legs long. We're going to do a side lying position. And this is what I'm going to encourage you to make sure you have extra padding underneath you. Because one of the things I do remember is that for many people with fibromyalgia, there's these points on the outer hips that when we come into a side lying pose, it can really help to have the extra padding. So I'm going to put even one more blanket underneath there. And I'm also going to keep, you can use a pillow. I happen to have these lovely little purple bolsters, but one for my head and one for my legs. So coming onto your left side first, feel free to put that one underneath your head or a blanket, something so it sticks out behind you. Draw your bottom arm forward. So instead of being on the outer edge of the arm, you're more on the shoulder blade. And then take the second bolster and put it between, or pillow, you can use pillow or blanket, put it between your knees. And we want to draw the knees up so they're about 90 degrees from the spine, and take your shins so they're parallel to your blanket or your mat. First, just let yourself land. Get comfortable. Can you allow yourself to just lay on this left side? Feel your breathing. Your breathing is always a window into where you are in your nervous system, that relaxation response, or that the sympathetic, that go, go, go. So we want to be in the relaxation response. And start to take a big breath in. And as you do so, feel your right shoulder blade and just gently roll your right shoulder blade towards the floor behind you. So if you've done my breathing techniques before, you could even try to bring your breath more into your right lung. You could place your right hand there and breathe in and roll. Check to see your head is supported as you roll, and breathe out and roll back. So we're moving through the torso now. The arm is more relaxed. Inhale, rolling into a rotation. And you've got that bolster between your knees, keeping your hips comfortable. Exhale, roll back. You might even roll all the way to your forehead. Imagine a nice wave-like motion. Rolling to open and rolling to close. Take your time, explore. Maybe you feel some sort of resistance in your shoulder. You might feel it in your hip. We can continue to make this movement from the shoulder blade. The other thing is to play with where the sensation comes from and how much we feel. You can change where you're initiating the movement. So what happens if instead of moving from your right shoulder blade, you begin to roll your head first and then let your torso follow your head, and even coming back. You could roll your head first and then let your torso follow. Does that feel interesting or different for you? And which one creates less sensation? Or which one is more pleasurable? Sometimes it's a combination of using both your head rolling and your shoulder blade. And we'll stop and we'll take the next one. And I'm just going to show you how I would prop myself. I'm going to turn the other way. So you're going to roll into that rotation. And if the elbow's not on the ground, take a blanket, a bolster. You can fold a pillow in half, put something underneath that right elbow so that you are fully supported in the rotation. So you've got something to land that elbow on, and your hand's just here. I never extend my arm out unless the shoulder blade's on the ground. If it is, I invite you to do that. We'll be still here for just a short amount of time and check in with yourself. Is this a landing space that feels safe and steady? Is your breath available to you? If you can't even acknowledge where or how you're breathing, it may be a sign that those red flags are going off. And you might even invite yourself to breathe into your right lung. Notice the rotation of the spine. Any parts of your body that are touching the ground, let them land every time you breathe out. So that left side. Keep allowing your right shoulder blade to fall towards the ground on the exhalation. Right elbow, wherever your head is landed. Taking a few moments in stillness just for you. And you can slide your arm towards the center of your belly, your right arm. Roll back onto your left side. Before we go to the second side, take yourself back onto your back in more of a neutral position where the two sides of your body are balanced. Just land there again. Land and feel. What have you created? What does your soup taste like now? Is it sweeter? Is it spicier? What are you trying to create? And sensing any difference between the left and the right. Feeling fully supported by the ground. And when you're ready to do the second side, you can slowly roll onto your right side. I'm going to turn as well. I call this the flip and flop. You can just do the flop. Get any supports close by that you might need. So I can even set that blanket back by my left elbow. The bolster between the knees, something underneath the head. Draw that bottom right arm a little bit forward so it's comfortable underneath you, or find that space where it works for you. Fall first. Draw your thigh bones up so they're about like an L shape from your spine, and then bring your shins forward. Sense yourself landing on your right side. And remember too that oftentimes the two sides of the body, we need to treat them like they're twins. They look the same on the outside, but they're not. Even identical twins, I have them. They're not the same. So you may need to do something different with the second side as compared to what you did with the first side, to keep that level of sensation where you want it. And then just begin to sense your left ribs, your left shoulder blade, and take a breath in and slowly roll the left shoulder blade towards the ground behind you. I like to keep my arm fully supported on the body, so I just sort of let it hang there. The left arm, and rolling on the inhale to the left, rolling back on the exhale, creating a nice rotation for the spine. Starting maybe from the shoulder blade, you can also use your collarbone. You can feel your collarbone there, right? So use your collarbone to roll. Moving from your torso, your juicy center. And it might be a very small, almost non-detectable motion. But even within that small motion, you're aware of the sensation. Still movement. And it's still conscious awareness. It's the other thing, if the levels of sensation are too high, we check out. We stop paying attention. We try to avoid ourselves. That's one I'm good at. So we typically either try to step out in avoidance, or we go so far into it that we think that's all we are, is that discomfort or pain. So trying to keep a balance between the two. And then if you want to do the same motion, you can start it from your head. So roll your head and your eyes towards the left shoulder and then roll it back. Let your torso respond to the motion of the head moving. And there's even deeper things we do, like if you're rolling from your head, where in your head are you moving from? You can move from your nose, your soft palate, your chin. Might do it with eyes opened or closed. You can use your breath to roll on the inhale and come back on the exhale. And then get ready to put your landing gear down. Roll into that next rotation. You can keep your arm right on your side. If you're starting to slide it out to get a little more stretch through your pectoral muscles, then if the elbow doesn't touch the ground, put it on something. Support it on something. If the shoulder blade's on the ground, you can extend the arm all the way out. But can, here's my other rule, is can doesn't mean you should. Just because we can do something, does it actually help you? Does it feel better? Where can you give yourself a gift of really feeling comfortable in your body right now in this rotation? And there's other ways to enhance the pose rather than going deeper into it with the physical position. Keep your left hand on your ribs, on your lung, and breathe into your left lung. Create more space around the left side just with your breath and your awareness of being in your left side. Scan your body. Is there any place where you're holding yourself back from the support underneath you? Can you receive that support with loving kindness? And when you're ready, you can slowly roll out. Maybe take your arm to the center. So we're going to transition onto our front side. And this is another time it's nice to have the extra blanket. I find that for many people, to keep the low back relaxed and long, particularly if you do have any low back issues, you can take a blanket, and it doesn't have to be very high, but even just a little bit of a lift. Put it about a third of the way down your mat. And then when you go to lay down, set the top of the blanket right at the top of your hips. So what it should help to do is to make the tailbone feel long. So you're kind of filling in that space of the belly. And tailbone will go down and low back is a little bit longer. See if it's comfortable to cross opposite hand to elbow. Let your forehead rest on your top arm bone. And this gives you the opportunity to take your feet up towards the sky, swing your legs side to side. Imagine massaging the thighs into the ground. Let it all go. Let the front of your body be completely supported. Tops of feet to the ground. And finding that restful space in the ground. Where is that for you? Mine includes a lab walking over me. That's okay. Sometimes distractions are good ways to take us out of our discomfort as well. Notice how you're breathing now, because you can feel your front body moving on the ground. And that's going to be an important part of this last movement we do, which is a gentle somatic back bend. So take your arms out almost like a T, or you can think of a cactus arm, and you can rest on your chin or your forehead. Take a soft but filling breath in. And notice as you do that, this feeling of your body wanting to lift, go slightly forward and upward. And as you breathe out, there might be the sensation of your body dropping back into the ground. And we follow that pattern of breath to create this gentle movement through the back and spine. So as you breathe in, think of slightly lifting up. So I'm going to keep my head and neck in a neutral position. I don't need to look up. I'm just going to slightly float up. And as you breathe out, turn onto one cheek and come back down onto the cheek. Very simple movement. The arms stay relaxed. Inhale, float up. Head comes through center. Exhale, float back down onto the cheek. So you may find that you barely lift your head. Your nose might even graze the ground. And you come back down. Take your time exploring that, inhaling up and exhaling down. As you're doing this, you may have that sense of the muscles in your back body are going to engage. So check out the muscles in your buttocks and your hamstrings. I think Milo was just checking mine out. Do they tighten a little bit as you lift up? And is it the right amount of tightening for you? So if you're going too far up, you may feel strain in your low back, but you also might feel too much tightening in the backs, your thighs, your low back. So just slightly lifting and exhaling. The important part, the softening, the complete release. So we're going to be strengthening the muscles of the back, or sensing them turn on, but also sense them turn off. And just the right volume for you. Inhaling up and exhaling down. Can you keep the shoulders relaxed without using your arms? And if you'd like to take a momentary pause, this one's a little more effort, but you could come up and pause here. The other thing I do if I want a little less effort is to bring a bolster underneath my chest to support myself. You can also put a bolster. I have bolsters, pillows work the same. Pillow underneath your head. So we're in that back bend, but it's fully supported. It's a nice way with fibromyalgia to create some chest expansion and a little bit of compression in the backside, but you're fully supported. Or you can get rid of those and just be here for a few breaths. Keep breathing in. Either way, feel the chest expand, come forward and upward, and breathe out and land. If you're holding in any position with or without the bolsters, slowly make your way down. Relax completely. Before we turn over, maybe again, rock your legs. You can reach your arms. You can also do the full body yawn on your front side. Come onto your fingertips. Roll your toes under. Head can rest. Reach. Take a breath in and breathe out. Sigh out your mouth. Let go. Then we'll be rolling onto our backside for just a little bit of relaxation. This is where it's nice to take that blanket and you might put it on top of you. And I'm going to show you a few other tricks that really help with fibro. One is if we're extending the legs, please consider putting a rolled blanket, pillows, something underneath your knees so you can extend comfortably. You can cover up your body, which I will do. You might lose me here. The way I like to support the head is in a neck roll. So you can take a blanket and roll it a little bit so that what you're trying to do is create just enough lift that fills in the space of the natural curve of your neck. And then from there, if your head needs to be a little bit higher, you can lift it a little. But I like to feel more of the roll underneath the neck. Let the head find the support of the floor. Get there and shake out a little bit. Shake out your legs. Shake your arms. You can flop your arms like fish on a pier. Where do they want to be? On your body, on your sides, pinky finger side, thumb. And taking this time to integrate the movements you did into your body. So was there one movement that was a little bit higher on the sensation scale? Was it still comfortable for you? Was there anything you did that was in any way scary or that you felt anxious about? Remembering that it's not just what we felt, it's what we say to ourselves. And we can work with both of those. What we feel, we have control over what we feel by how much or how little motion we make. And what we say to ourselves, we become consciously aware of those comments. And if they're self-defeating in any way, I encourage you to begin to cultivate the opposite. In yoga, we call that pratipaksha bhavana, cultivating the opposite. It's a really strong tool for the mind. You can try it now if there's a particular place or places in your body area that have been bothersome, painful, that get a lot of your attention. Think of that space. And what would be the opposite of whatever it is you experience there? Think of that in your mind and send it into that space in your body. So if you feel tightness, create an I am statement. I am relaxed. You could also do this for your whole body as opposed to one area. I am peaceful if you feel anxiety. I am restful. I am supported. I am good enough, just as I am. You can continue it with your affirmations. You can feel the stillness of the body, and within that stillness, explore sensation. It's a reminder that we're always changing, always transitioning. And that's the spaciousness that these practices will gift you. Looking at transition as a way of creating space in your body. We're never the same. not getting stuck in our pain, but recognizing its ability to move. You can also be aware of your breath. Just these last 5 or 8 breaths. If you're more tactile, you could even place your hands on your body. Feel the physical movement of your breath. Making that exhalation a little bit longer and slower and sweeter. And even notice the pause at the bottom of the exhalation, the peaceful pause. Gather all your awareness in that space where there's stillness at the bottom of your breath out. Can you use that moment every time you breathe out to release every part of your body that's touching the ground? Let them fully be supported so that the muscles relax onto the bones. The bones hold you in your chosen position. Your joints are in comfortable spaces. It's as if you can breathe spaciousness throughout your whole body, from the toes to the crown of the head, and the fingers into the heart. I invite you to stay here for as long as you'd like. When you are ready to get up, or if you want to join me now, start by opening and closing your hands. Remember when we did that? How much sensation do we need opening and closing our hands? Wiggle your fingers, move your ankles again. Take a full body yawn, breathing in and stretching, breathing out and releasing. Remember, that's always our pattern of change. Filling, emptying, all those complementary opposites. Pleasure, pain, joy, suffering. Sometimes it's hard and we get stuck in one or the other. I follow a dualistic philosophy that we are all those things. We can be pleasure and we can be pain. It's okay. Take your hands to your heart, your loving heart. Offer yourself something that's positive to finish your practice. And that may be just saying to yourself, thank you for taking the time to do this for yourself. Thank you for joining me, for exploring your sensation scale. Remember, you can apply this to any of the practices. Peace, joy, love, and light.